So welcome back, guys. I've got a Call of Cthulhu game coming up shortly, so I've been getting some pieces ready for it. If you haven't already, do please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. But the coming up game is set in ancient Egypt, so I needed an Anubis, and so on 3D Cult, I managed to find this cool figure, and 3D printed it, came out perfectly well. I shrunk it down in scale so that it would suit my figures that I'm using. Then first step was I gave it a grey base coat, and then on top of that I'm using US Field Drab from from Model Colour, which is Vallejo, and that's going to be the base, sort of base brown, tan, earthy sand colour that the monster is going to be. Next up, for the skin of the miniature, we're using chocolate brown, again from Model Colour, just to give it that sort of aged texture. Aged colour of some sort of monster. But I guess you could go whichever way you wanted. Mine is going to be more of an alive creature. You could quite easily paint these up more as like a mummified, living dead sort of ghoul if you wished. But I wanted mine to be more alive, so that's why I'm going for these colours. But yeah, the game is set in ancient Egypt. The whole map, let's say, only has about 4 rooms, I believe, so I'm going to slowly but surely be building up those over the coming weeks. But I'm looking forward to it. I've got some friends and family members who are keen to give Call of Cthulhu a try, so I think this will be a good entryway for them. So next up we're using Ice Blue from Game Colour, and that's for some of the cloth on the, I'm not sure if you call it a skirt, but there's kind of like a tie which is around his waist and dangles down, so we're doing that in blue, and then also in, I'm not sure what the headdress is called, but you often see like the Egyptians wearing the headwear, and so we'll be doing blue on that also. And so as we get closer to the time of the video coming out and the other scenery building, I'll go into a bit more detail about the mission itself. But also, if you haven't already, go and check out Seth Skorkowski's video channel. Although he isn't a wargamer, he is a role-playing gamer, and he does a lot of Call of Cthulhu and Dungeons and Dragons module reviews, and tells you kind of how to improve your game as both a player but also as a dungeon master or keeper of secrets. So yeah, he has some good ones and they're quite fun as well, so yeah, go give him a check out also. So I've always had a bit of an interest in ancient Egypt. I'm not sure if it's because of the monuments or what it is, but there's always been something about it. I think it might actually have been I've always been interested in sort of Moses and the Israelites and their escape. So it may go back to that, but yeah, it's just something about ancient Egypt which I find pretty interesting. What sort of ancient periods do you guys find the most interesting? Yeah, I'd be interested to hear down below, and then I can see if I can put something together in the future. So next up we're doing the rest of we'll just call it a skirt, the rest of his skirt, and that's going to be crimson red from System 3. What I have done is just watered it down a little bit, just to let it flow, added a bit of flow improver and matte medium, and then that way it's kind of like a bit of a contrast paint, and I found that does work quite nicely to just give you that natural low and high levels of colour, which you can then quite easily go over when you're just highlighting later on, and it works quite nicely without having to do too many different coats. So if you're trying to cheat a little bit, then definitely get a bit of flow improver and get a little bit of matte medium, and that'll do the trick for you. So I've been mentioning in some of my other videos that this is a craft paint from just like the warehouse or wherever, but it actually works pretty well, I've found. If you treat it carefully yeah, it comes out pretty nicely, so don't necessarily turn your nose up at them. And now next up we're going to do the metal work on him. So I'm using bright bronze from Game Colour, and there's a bit on his belt which needs to be done in bronze, but also on the headdress there's a cobra sort of on the top, but also there's I'm not sure if they were sewn in or how they were historically attached, but there's gold stripes on the headdress itself. The figure also has greaves and some sort of arm bracelets as well, so I'm just doing them all the same colour, all the same bronze. I guess you could do some in silver, some in bronze, gold, different colours depending on how you want to do it, but me, it's more for speed and getting the figures on the table. Let me know in the comments below whether you are the sort of person that finds it possible to just paint your figures for a good quality but for speed to get them on the table, or whether when you start you can't stop and you've got to keep going into them, and what would have been sort of a suitable tabletop miniature, said in inverted commas, ends up being a showpiece. I know I'm sometimes that way. I'm like, I'm just going to do these quickly, and then I'll do a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then they end up taking far longer than they needed to. So yeah, let me know below if I'm the only one or if you're the same. So bright bronze, I think I've mentioned a few times, is one of my favourite colours from this range. It just flows smoothly and it's got such a nice colour to it. Let me know below if there's any paint ranges that you really like yourselves, and or any specific colours that you find just work nicely and that you'd recommend. So once the wash has dried, we then go back in and highlight all of the areas using the exact same colours as we did before. So the method that I use, it's quite straightforward. You don't have to keep building up the layers. It's literally same colour. Put it on first, put your wash over the top of it, use the same colour to highlight, and it seems to work quite a treat, at least for me, when I'm speed painting. So we're going to be using the same crimson red, the same ice blue, bronze, whatever, chocolate brown. Although I didn't actually use chocolate brown for highlighting here, I used the US drab on the flesh just to highlight that. I also gave him 2 red eyes, but that was about it really. That's as much of the detail that I really went into. Thought just keep it simple. Although he's larger than the individual humans, nearly twice the height, it's still not a huge figure. It's probably still smaller than 32, or maybe it is a 32mm figure all up. But yeah, I haven't gone into oodles of detail, just enough to get it good and combat ready, let's put it that way. Then after that, it was a matter of basing it. So again, I've just got a sandbox with some stones and put him in, and I'm pretty happy, to be honest, with the way he came out. I think he looks good. Let me know what you think below. If you haven't already, do please like and subscribe before we get too far. But as you can see, I'm starting to build up the collection of ancient Egyptian scenery and the monster, and slowly but surely we're going to be building our tomb. We've got some of the adventurers, so it's all coming together. So till next time guys, stay safe and keep gaming.